How can a smaller nation defend itself against a larger one? Ukraine found the answer through an intelligence revolution, with covert backing from the CIA and Western allies. With real-time intelligence and advanced technology, Ukraine often knew Russia's next move. Let's explore how this strategic collaboration transformed Ukraine's defense and shifted the war's dynamics. Pre-invasion intel. Ukrainians have obtained precise enemy intelligence since before the invasion. In 2021, the military buildup near Ukraine's borders was hard to overlook, but the U.S. had growing evidence of an invasion. In September 2021, Russia's Zapad exercise was larger than usual. While pandemic mitigation measures may have loosened, Washington's intelligence infrastructure wasn't fooled. Putin's manifesto about Ukraine 2 months before, the force's placement and composition, cybernetic information, and other sources indicated that any border troop movement would not be a military drill. Putin could not hide the training mission. Due to the enormous intelligence the U.S. and its allies obtained before the invasion, the world mobilized with unusual symphony. Russia was cut off from most sophisticated economies within days, but Ukraine received constant military and economic aid to survive the fight. However, intelligence was more specific. Russia's failure to attack Kiev's Hostomel airport may have cost it the war. Russia's original goal was to take important airports with its elite paratroopers to create an air corridor. After that, it would fly in tanks, artillery, and other heavy weaponry to take over large cities. The American intelligence community discovered it, unfortunately for Putin. Ukrainians gratefully got this information and prepared. Russia was unprepared for the kind of resistance they would face at the airport or elsewhere. Ukraine fended off the invasion, which was expected to last a few days, but lasted 2.5 years. The halted columns outside Kiev were caused by Russia's air corridor failure. Western leaders realized Ukraine wouldn't fall in days as they had predicted. Failure of the Russian plan and international reaction. So, the West's only intelligence blunder about Russia was overestimating its power. After discovering that this intelligence was wrong, the West accelerated the delivery of deadly aid to Ukraine, though not at the rate the Ukrainians wanted. The Hostomel incident culminated in a decade-long Washington-Kiev intelligence collaboration. Since World War II, the U.S. has accumulated extensive institutional knowledge that helped Ukraine. Much of Washington's intelligence apparatus was built to monitor and oppose Russia. The National Security Act of 1947 founded the CIA, which has had the largest impact in Ukraine. Truman established the NSA in 1952. The Soviet Union sparked both occurrences. Unlike most of the world, America's intelligence community never relaxed after 1991. Russia remained a priority after the Soviet Union collapsed. Its strong concentration may have left the U.S. unprepared for the September 11th terrorist assault, the War on Terror, and China's development in the Indo-Pacific. However, it was beneficial to watch Russia, Europe's biggest geopolitical threat, and the CIA and its peers use the chance to form a genuine intelligence collaboration with Ukraine. Enhancing Ukraine-U.S. intelligence cooperation. The partnership goes beyond information sharing. Personnel and infrastructure are included. The Ukrainian intelligence network uses American gear. Former SBU chief Ivan Burkanov stated that Ukraine could not have resisted the Russian invasion without the CIA. How did this partnership start? Sharing intelligence with a former Soviet republic would be risky. SBU descends from the KGB, has the same structure, and occupies the same building. Some of its officers were KGB. Putin took office at the end of 1999, sparking this intelligence revolution. A renewed Russian threat to Europe became more likely at that time. The American intelligence community was wary of Russia despite the West's diplomatic and economic efforts to make Moscow a partner in the post-Cold War order. Putin called the fall of the Soviet Union the saddest tragedy of the 20th century in 2005. He confirmed many of America's intelligence warriors' fears 2 years later. He blasted the U.S. and the post-Cold War world system in Munich. He called the attempt to construct a world with one master and sovereign harmful. The next year, Putin invaded Georgia, telling Washington's intelligence agencies to stay vigilant. While Putin tried to end Russia's strategic retreat, Ukrainians wanted to retreat more and more. Post-Soviet Ukraine gave up the world's third-largest nuclear arsenal in 1994 for guarantees of sovereignty and border integrity. Ukrainian intelligence structure changes. Russia was fine with this arrangement for 20 years because it used puppet leadership to control Ukraine. When Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych rejected the potential to enhance Ukraine's connections with the EU in favor of deeper integration with Russia, his people protested and sent him to the country he seemed to love. Yanukovych was accompanied. He took many loyal Kremlin assets, including elite intelligence officials. Strategically, the new Ukrainian leadership was anti-Russia and refused to follow the Kremlin. Russia's cronies damaged Ukraine's intelligence before leaving. Malware infiltrated all machines and burned documents. This was a blessing in disguise. Valentin Navalchenko led the new government. He was known to Western intelligence. He was an intelligence veteran who had contacted Western counterparts before, but political circumstances in the 1990s precluded a productive relationship. Navalchenko knew he needed the CIA's cooperation to rebuild the SBU. He had an issue, though. In contrast to Navalchenko, the CIA disliked the SBU. The CIA considered it an FSB branch due to Russian agents' infiltration. When then CIA Director John Brennan visited secretly shortly after, Russian social media trolls criticized and broadcast his presence. The SBU was heavily infiltrated even though the top spooks departed with the prior boss. Washington didn't want to miss the chance. It formed a limited partnership with Navalchenko. It would assist him find SBU Russian spies. It would provide intelligence about Ukrainian insurgents, but not military information. The latter was not desired by the Obama administration. It still felt it could mend relations with Russia and did not want to risk fresh security challenges for a militarily unprepared Europe while pivoting to Asia in the face of a quickly developing and much more powerful Chinese threat. Navalchenko was disappointed, but worked to improve the connection. He said in an interview 10 years later that 90% of the SBU's top leadership was sacked within a week. Navalchenko knew that removing Russian assets from the SBU was the first step to showing Washington that Ukraine was serious about leaving Russia. He was fortunate that American intelligence had deeply infiltrated Russian spy networks. This had been its experience for over a century. They worked together to remove Russian spies. Navalchenko promised another draw to win Western faith, curtailed their national potential. In exchange for helping find Russian spies, Navalchenko promised to have the CIA train Ukraine's new counterintelligence unit. The new SBU chief prompted the generational shift. Due to its infiltration, he couldn't hire former organization employees for his new unit. Instead, he created the 5th Directorate. It employed only persons born after or just before the Soviet Union's demise and had only known an independent Ukraine. The new SBU posture was promptly demonstrated when Navalchenko deployed agents to find Russian spies in Ukraine. Kherson was heated. Ukraine's new counterintelligence forces quickly seized Russian assets there and elsewhere. Their infiltration of separatist territories was successful. The Ukrainians fed Washington this intelligence from the start. They informed the UN of various Russian crimes in Ukraine. Ukraine capitalized on this after a catastrophe. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 was shot down in eastern Ukraine rebel airspace. Unfortunately for the Russians and their rebel supporters, the new SBU proved itself here. Separatist commander Igor Besler's phone was intercepted by the 5th Directorate. The call alerted him to a bird flying toward him 2 minutes before Flight 17 crashed. Besler informed a Russian intelligence official of a jet downing 20 minutes later. The rebels acknowledged this communication, although it purportedly involved a Ukrainian aircraft. However, the timing was too convenient. The 5th Directorate also found human sources behind the lines that confirmed the Buk surface-to-air missile system that shot down the airplane, despite separatist claims. Already impressed by Ukraine's ability to find Russian operatives, Flight 17 was a turning moment in the CIA-Ukraine relationship. The quality and quickness of airliner intelligence prompted Obama and Brennan to intensify cooperation. Conflict intelligence. The president did not authorize the CIA to share militarizable intelligence, but allowed training and equipping Ukrainians to gather it themselves. Ukraine received sophisticated equipment and CIA training for the elite SBU 5th Directorate and other members, forming Unit 2245. Military Intelligence Chief Kirill Obudanov led this effort, with HUR, Ukraine's military intelligence, and other security services joining. Despite slow progress due to Russian infiltration, General Valery Kondratyuk sought to improve operations, using HUR to identify Russian assets and send agents to gather secrets. In 2015, he visited Washington to discuss Russian Navy plans, which led to American intelligence reevaluating Ukraine's HUR. CIA training and equipment strengthened the HUR, particularly through Operation Goldfish, which included purges and improved access to Russian communications. Ukrainian agents were also trained to impersonate Russians to gather intelligence, supported by 12 secret bases near Russia. Russia remained unaware of the full extent of the CIA-Ukraine intelligence alliance, as new agents were deployed to counter Russian operations. Tension in partnership. Satellite imagery of Russia's events was still withheld by the U.S. The U.S. refused to conduct operations in Russia. Even if relations were deteriorating, the U.S. nevertheless wanted to appease Russia to offset China's growing threat in the Indo-Pacific. Ukraine was upset by this ban because it intended to use this new potential to kill more. This caused tensions because the U.S. still opposed it. Ukraine learned Russia will send attack helicopters to Crimea. Budanov led Kondratyk's Russian dummy agents to plant bombs without telling Washington. A security vulnerability in the HUR alerted Russian troops, who defeated the effort. Budanov's team lost members and had to swim home. It was amazing, but Kondratyk lost his job due to the mistake. As Vice President Biden's call to Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko was intercepted and released online, the failed Crimean raid had a major impact on Washington and highlighted Ukraine's security issues. This disclosure exacerbated the backlash and led several American national security officials to demand the CIA's break with Ukraine. However, the partnership was too valuable to end. Ukrainian intelligence on Russia was fed to the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, bolstering America's Cold War penetration. The alliance had yielded so much that the CIA frequently received Russian drones by the conclusion of the Obama administration. These drones were quickly reverse-engineered and decrypted. The day following the failed Crimean attack, a rebel Donetsk Oblast bomb killed local leader Arsen Pavlov. Despite America's reservations, it showed Ukraine's intelligence and lethality. So, CIA backing has greatly affected the Ukraine conflict. If this video was helpful, like, comment, and subscribe for more. Welcome. See you in the future video.